Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. Our meeting date is Monday, October 21st, 2024. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the clerk to note our starting time for the minutes as 7 p.m. And they're huddled around the clerk's table. I'm hoping the technology is doing what it's supposed to. All right, they're giving me the thumbs up. Okay, a warm welcome is extended to councilors, staff, delegations, and observers who will participate in this meeting, regardless of whether they are in the council chambers, in Listowel, or being connected through web technologies. We begin tonight's meeting with the playing of O Canada. Those in chambers, as able, are invited to stand. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live in the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available after this meeting as an archived video. To those viewing this meeting via the YouTube channel, a warm welcome to you. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior and/or comments. Thank you. At this time, I invite your decorum over the course of the coming meeting. I have late expectations, I think is perhaps the right way to put it, for Councillor David Johnston, who is, I think, doing some farm work and is hoping to be here before this meeting wraps up. Otherwise, all councillors are in their seats in the chamber and list one. Let us move to item 5 on our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interests. Members of council have full lives with engagement in community. Sometimes they may find themselves with a potential financial or pecuniary interest in an item that is at the council table. Provincial legislation mandates councillors to declare this interest and in so doing avoid direct involvement in the consideration or voting on the item. I invite all councillors with a perceived pecuniary interest, including those who have already so declared in writing, to verbally advise the chair in public session. Documentation is to be submitted if not already done pursuant to council procedures. Councillors may declare now or at any point in the meeting should such interest be recognized. And I'm going to call first on Councillor Anstett. Welcome, Councillor Anstett.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Through you this evening, I will be declaring a pecuniary interest on item 9.2.1 as my children attend the St. Mary's Daycare and participate in before and after school programming at that facility. Also on item 12.1, the bylaw for that item. And finally, item 17.1, the confirmatory bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anstett. Does anyone else wish to identify a potential pecuniary interest at this time? I'm not seeing any indication of that. So let's move forward. As chair of this meeting, I'll manage the flow of proceedings tonight and largely in accord with our agenda and the rules of procedure. Some may be participating remotely by web conference. Should they wish to speak, they may draw the attention of the clerk to this using the conferencing technology's text chat function. If technical difficulties arise for remote participants, I will advise and try to spark some help. Let us now focus on the people's business. Part of that focus is achieved when those in chamber silence and put away their phones. Regarding item 6 of our agenda, I have a resolution for consideration to approve the agenda that reads as follows, that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved. Moved by Deputy Mayor Callum, seconded by Councillor Anstett. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. We are waiting for the technology to catch up with us.
Mr. Mayor, I would advise that perhaps we do a manual vote for this one while eScribe catches up with us.
Certainly, thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. It's going to come up quick for the next vote. We're now at item 7 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. Consent items are placed on our agenda because they are believed to be non-contentious, yet they may warrant council's recognition and/or action. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item or more from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. There are 15 items on our consent agenda tonight, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Colleagues, anything to extract here or any corrections that you would like to request for the minutes? And let's turn to Councillor Andreessen first.
Good evening, Mayor Kiesenberg, fellow council members, staff, and the public. I just want to see if we could pull out item 7.6 regarding the North Perth Public Library social return on investment.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to pull something? Councillor Rothwell next.
Good evening, Mayor Todd, members of council, staff, and public. Items 7.12, the Ontario Deposit Return Program from the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury, as well as item 7.13, the Ontario Big City Mayors regard the Solve the Crisis campaign. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with a request here? Okay, I'd like us to pull 7.15 as well, if we could. So I'll get to that one when it's my turn. All right. I think we'll do as we have normally done, which is to invite the comments on the pulled items first, and then we can handle it all with additional motions and then the omnibus motion at the end. So, Councillor Andreessen, the floor is yours.
Thank you through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. There was a report that was shared by our CEO of Library Services, Ellen Whelan, and she's here this evening, and I would like her to speak to the impact that the North Perth Library system has in terms of social return on investment. If that's okay.
Okay, that will require consent from council if you wish her to speak at this point. Okay, so I'm looking at my colleagues. Do you want a resolution to this effect, Clerk Klein? Okay, so the request has been made, and it seems that most of my colleagues have given consent through body language here. Ms. Whalen, would you like to come forward and speak to this item just to give us an understanding of what's going on there?
I assume that is how you do that. Thank you, Councillor Andreessen. Through Mayor Kiesenberg, thank you for having me speak a little bit tonight about our local library. This week we celebrate Ontario Public Libraries Week. You might have seen in social media and the news, we did have a kickoff on Saturday where we were having a library sign-up campaign. We had a mascot out and photo ops and lots of giveaways. But what I'm here to talk to you about tonight is the social return on investment, which might be a term some of the council members are acquainted with. We have a Ontario Library Services, a provincial body, that has commissioned the Nordic Institute to create a calculation tool that gives a monetary value to the services that the library gives, which is often a tricky service to quantitate and give a value to. So we went through the tool and we came out with a really good number. So I wanted to give council a little bit of context. The North Perth Public Library, for every dollar invested in the library, the social return on investment is $5.67. Huron County Library has done this calculation, and they're at $4.66. And Stratford has done this calculation, and they've been at $6.48. So we're looking at about a value per North Perth resident of $287.05 of value for every person in this community. And it aligns with the library values, but it also aligns with council values in terms of that quality of living, that really what you're getting out of the library is something of a high value. The lowest number I'm seeing is $245 out of Blue Mountain. So we really are kind of mid-high range for value of the service. And we're hoping that this report, so these numbers were run off of the 2023 numbers. We're hoping to do this every October and bring you these results to show you how we're using this number to improve our service, to create more value out of our service. It highlights where we may be weak in terms of our impact. So in the report, it goes through 7 calculated elements of impact, including education, culture, inclusion and well-being, entertainment and leisure, economic development, and civic engagement. And it kind of popped out 2 for us for improvement, including civic engagement and culture. So each one has kind of a value of what we're putting back into our local economy. And it's just a really neat way to calculate something that is really incalculable and tries to put a number on the impact for social service pieces. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whalen. Okay. Leanne, Councillor Andreessen, did you have anything further you wish to raise on that? All right, thank you. Let's turn to item 7.12 and 7.13. Those are both yours. Councillor Rothwell, we'll let you take both of those away at your discretion.
Thank you, Mayor Todd and Council. Item 7.12 deals specific with the Ontario Deposit Return Program. This is a program which runs actually in all of the other province save one, and well, two total, but including Ontario. And this is dealing specifically with non-alcoholic beverages for returns, so everything from pop cans specifically. That's the main item. And the reason I'm bringing this forward is that as your representative on Blue Water Recycling Association, we did talk about this at our last meeting. The province of Ontario was, as including the retailers and the manufacturers of beverages, who were working towards a deposit return system through the summertime. The province of Ontario decided to stop that program from implementation, and I would hope if council is willing to support the resolution from the town of Bradford West Gwillimbury to encourage the province of Ontario to move forward with this. This would actually, in fact, help keep things out of our landfill, even though these are important things for our recycling programs. The aluminum products are very valuable, but this also includes plastic bottles as well. Anything that we can keep out of our landfills is important for us as a municipality, and it's important for us as environmentally as well. So I was asking if this council support the resolution of the town of Bradford West Gwillimbury regarding the Ontario Deposit Return Program. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll consider that a motion that you've essentially crafted, which is to extend a letter of support to the town of Bradford West Gwillimbury with regards to its letter to Ontario regarding the Ontario Deposit Return Program, and send copies to usual suspects in terms of this, which would include the MPP. I assume the MP would appreciate this as a courtesy, and perhaps the warden of county council as well. Is that okay? So moved, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? Seeing none, if we can have a vote, let's have a vote. If we can do it digitally, even better. No, you're struggling with eScribe tonight. All right, let's have a manual vote then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Still.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd and Council. The next item specifically is regarding the item 7.13 regarding the Ontario Big City Mayors Solve the Crisis campaign. Included in this campaign regarding that every municipality throughout Canada, frankly, and elsewhere are dealing with is housing and homelessness in particular, and the lack of options for individuals within our communities. What this resolution, there's a draft resolution for our consideration on page 55 of our agenda package. And if this council wishes to support that either this evening or perhaps at later our next meeting to add North Perth's voice to support the resolution that we could draft based on the Ontario Big Cities Mayor's correspondence, I think would be very appropriate. We do know, based on reports from our staff and what we're hearing within our local news media, that we do have those within our community that are in encampments that do struggle to find housing on a more permanent basis. And what we're looking at doing is through this resolution is having a more fulsome program to try to address those root causes to that issue. And without further ado, I would encourage council for its consideration either A, this evening, or B, at a later our next meeting, to consider the resolution included in our page 55 and 56 of our agenda package. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rothwell. I'm going to propose we just move to do this instead of delaying till our next meeting and getting staff support. I think the staff can adequately customize the resolution for our purposes to speak on behalf of this council. Do I have general consent on that? Is that okay? Is that okay? Everyone all right with that? All right. And I think, if I might, so I'm going to consider you the mover. Let's see if we have a seconder. I think that's what Councillor Blazik was going for. Thank you. I'm paying attention. All right. I think one of the interesting pieces of this, and I saw a lot of this at the AMO meeting in Ottawa this year, certainly a big push on this initiative. People wearing T-shirts and badges, and it was highly marketed at the AMO conference. I think what's so interesting about this is one almost innocuous line, which I think is critical. It says then that the province officially makes homelessness a health priority. And that piece is really, really important. And it comes with notions that the Ministry of Health will come into the table with its big purse and do something about homelessness. So I find myself quite excited actually about that resolution, and I'm glad to lend support to it personally. Colleagues, anyone else want to comment on this resolution before we take a vote? Okay, we're doing manual votes until the clerk's table tells us otherwise. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. Let's turn to 7.15. That's one that I've pulled. As you know, there's the province has not come to the table to this date with regards to community transportation funding for transit systems that it instigated 5.5 years ago, 6 years ago now, and so here we are facing the demise across southwestern Ontario of small community transit systems. I think it's incumbent on us to offer comment that we think the province needs to come to the table on this one. And so this letter from the town of Tillsonburg is actually something that is circulating fairly broadly, I think, amongst the Western wardens. I'm just sort of looking at Deputy Mayor Kellum to see if he's sort of aware of that too. But certainly, I think there's a concerted effort at this point for the communities that will be affected by this transit defunding, if you will, to do something. So I'm going to encourage you to consider this resolution. I suppose for propriety's sake, I'll ask if there's a mover to endorse the letter from the town of Tillsonburg. And okay, so thank you, Deputy Mayor Kellum, and seconded by Councillor Richardson. Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. I fully agree with that support. The problem I see here is that unfortunately the province of Ontario does embark on programs, and there is the funding is fine as long as it's there, and then when it's not, there is nothing to replace it, and communities and people in particular that rely on this then find themselves no better off quite often than they were before, 5.5 years ago, before the program started. I believe if there is an understanding province-wide here, both at the provincial level as well as the local municipality level, that this is an important project, we will find the funds to actually make this happen on an ongoing basis, because people's need for transit for work or personal endeavors and so on is crucial in this time that we're in. And hopefully the province will see the merit in when you undertake a program, you fund it because you thought it was a good program, and it continues to be a good program until it's not. And then that's the time when you decide the merits of the program as to whether or not to continue, as opposed to some budget discussion as to whether or not they have enough funds to be able to continue on. So I'm very much in support and encourage the province to actually see the wisdom in having this as a baseline funding continuously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. I think the challenge that we face here quite directly is that this appears to be another download. That's what it's starting to look like. And unfortunately, we find ourselves, I think all of us at this table, at the county table, at county tables all across southwestern Ontario, who've managed to ramp up these programs with financial constraints that largely are in the aftermath of the pandemic now, that are very real and force us to make hard decisions. And yes, sure, we're paid the big bucks to make hard decisions, but I think that. This kind of continuing of sort of dodgy answers with regards to whether they will proceed, and it sure doesn't look like they intend to. And then leaving it to the local municipality or the county to pick up the price tag is unfortunate behavior. I think we've seen a lot of, if I might, we've seen a lot of emphasis from the province on housing and homelessness, and a lot of talk about it, and some investment in it, and in fact, I don't think that you can deal with the housing issue without having a transit platform as well. I think they go hand in hand, and so as a consequence, to some degree, any positive work that the province is doing to try to stimulate housing availability and even attainability, it could be compromised by loss of public transit solutions that they funded already, and now they're saying wrap them up. Anyone else want to weigh in on this one before we have the vote? We get any closer with eScribe, or is this not eScribe's night? This is not eScribe's night. All right. Then we'll have a manual vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. So let's have a look at the omnibus resolution then as follows. Consent item 7.1 to 7.15 be received for information, and the minutes of the October 7th, 2024 regular council meeting be adopted. Can I call for a mover on this one? Councillor Richardson, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Anstead. Any discussion or debate on this matter? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Let's move to agenda item number 8. We do not have any public meetings scheduled for us that would warrant a recess from council, but we do have a delegation from a party with interest in our council's business or authority this evening. We remind the delegation, in accordance with this council's procedural bylaw, a total time of 10 minutes per delegation is permitted, and that includes both presentation time and providing an opportunity, albeit small, for councillors to ask questions. A delegation is to present on a topic, declare on the submitted request for delegation forms, and deviations from the topic are not generally acceptable to the chair or to this council. Further to my usual request that we maintain an atmosphere of respect and courtesy, I will remind our delegate this evening, you should not use the names of those who have not consented to such use. And with that, I'm going to introduce Mr. Daniel Siegel of Siegel Construction, who wishes to address council about housing attainability. We have you remote. We're seeing you well. Let's hear you speak, and then we'll tell you we're hearing you well. Mr. Siegel, welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me this evening.
We can
Is
hear
my
you.
audio
We're
okay?
good.
Great. This is my 4th delegation this evening. So bear with me if my words are coming out a little bit mumbled. My name's Daniel Siegel. I'm a Tarion builder who's been doing laneway houses and garden suites in Toronto and Hamilton since 2020. I come to you this evening because I want to discuss attainable home ownership and how council could support the model that I'm bringing to the table through either favorable zoning, access to land, or access to funding. Now, your presentation earlier about the most recent AMO meeting and how the Ministry of Health has declared a health emergency is super interesting, and I hadn't heard that one before. So thank you for that. I'm here today because I'd like to present a model that's been in place in south of the border now for 8 years. There's a municipality there that's built, developed, and sold 200 units since 2016 that fulfill the definition of attainable housing with home ownership. And that's really the model that this whole presentation is going to be based off of. My goal is to build 1,000 attainable home ownership units in 2025. And I'm looking to work with municipalities to be able to accomplish that. The reason I'm not doing it as a developer wearing my developer hat is that the cost of debt's just too crazy. It's impossible to get anything done in this climate. And frankly, it's government's responsibility to make sure that this type of housing is produced. There's a housing continuum, right? So at the very bottom of the housing continuum, there's shelters and transitional housing. And then that goes right up until rent geared to income housing that we identify as affordable. And then there's this chasm. I'm not even going to call it a gap because nobody's been building this type of housing since the 1920s wartime housing, and then again in the 1980s. No one's been doing attainable houses. You look at what developers are building, and they're 5-bedroom, 4-bath townhouses at $1 million plus. So the model that I'm bringing to the table this evening is a model to develop compact communities where there'd be somewhere between 10 and 20 attainable units. They're small, they're 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single story. But the key here is that they're able to buy these houses publicly for $330,000, which in your municipality is Bill C-23's number for what is defined as an attainable detached house. And as far as I know, I'm the only developer ever to see the economics of this actually working. And I'd love to share it with staff. I'd love that this delegation be referred to staff for a report so that I could go into more details. This is a public forum, so I'm not going to get that in depth into my secret sauce. But again, I'm looking to work with municipalities. Currently, I have about 5 that I'm interested in doing communities into at different stages. However, I'm always looking for that extra one because this type of housing solution is scalable, and you copy and paste. You adopt the new bylaws to allow for smaller lots. We figure out how to take unserviced land and have a bunch of small units share a common septic and water. It's really good ideas, but frankly, I'm not willing to mortgage my firstborn to help solve other people's problems. And I think it's incumbent upon upper and lower tier municipalities to fork over the money to actually get this thing off the ground. These are economically viable projects that frankly no one else is doing. And so far I don't see a reason not to. And that's the reason I've gone before about 300 of the 444 municipalities in the province to lobby them to have a look at this model. I didn't invent it. They've been doing it south of the border. I guess we're a little bit slower in the north. I don't believe that, but based on the evidence and the number of people in this space, which is pretty much only Habitat for Humanity, I think that we should be having serious looks with money in our pockets, willing to spend on housing for attainable units. I could go into detail in a lot of different areas, but again, I really want to convey the message here. What I'm looking for is that this delegation be referred to staff for a report. And from there, I'd be more than happy to sit down and discuss how we could deploy compact communities and how that would fill the chasm in Ontario where attainable housing is pretty much neglected across the board. With that, I'd be more than happy to help answer any questions you may have. And maybe we'll use that as a starting point for addressing the housing crisis with actual solutions that could be deployed quite quickly.
All right, thank you, Mr. Siegel. I think I can safely say a few things that are helpful to you. First, this community has an affordable and attainable housing plan adopted by this council in the last year. And we have in it a series of commitments to through policy and action, including financing and funding of various shapes and forms. In the last 3 months, we've approved an attainable housing community improvement plan bylaw, and have put money already into the first project based on an act of council last time. So you are approaching a council that is housing interested and has shown its commitment over several years now to try to make a difference, even though at times it can feel rather glacial in terms of the pace, which I'm sure is what you've also experienced. With that, I have every confidence. I don't think council needs to give a resolution that staff would be happy to meet with you and discuss with you form and function, talk to you about our CIP and the funding that's available through that, and work with you on innovation. Certainly, as mayor in this community, I've been quite interested in housing innovation, and I think many of my colleagues at this table too have shown that willingness through a number of things that we've done legislatively already. Colleagues, do you have any questions for Mr. Siegel at this point? Does staff need direction on this one? CEO Snell, do you want a direction?
Given the basis of the current CIP does not deal with homeownership and that potential partner is looking for either funding or land, I think yes, council should provide us direction.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Kellum?
Yes, through you, Mayor Keseberg, and thank you for your presentation. So, understanding that it's a great an opportunity for us, but just want to understand, do you have any capital investment in this?
So the short answer is yes. The only problem is my capital investment could only go so far. I'm looking at deploying 5 communities, and frankly, I'm only 41. Expecting me to foot the bill for this is a little bit ambitious. But I could certainly tell you that, yeah, the numbers do make sense, and I'd be happy to share them with the appropriate people once we've all signed NDAs.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. Okay, anyone else with questions or comments? Councilor Gordon?
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. Just curious, what kind of ranges of square footages are these units?
I'm sorry, you cut out there. Could you repeat the question?
What square footage is these units?
So frankly, the one I'm looking at is 680 square feet, but within the model, it's almost like a menu approach. So the types of units that I'm proposing are prefabricated, and I'm looking to pre-sell the units based on service, having a number of lots on a service property, and that potential homeowner would then choose the unit that fits their need. So they're prefabricated, and therefore, the unit comes on a truck and a crane puts it into place. And my deployment time is about 1.5 months to 3 months. So the actual size of the unit, again, they vary. The way that this project works is rapid deployment, with almost 98% of the work being done off-site. So to answer your question, it's going to be up to the homeowner to decide how big of a unit they want, given their particular needs. But the ones I like are 680 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Those are the ones that I feel make the most amount of sense. And then the other issue here is that the nice thing about these units is that I'm targeting the newlyweds and the nearly deads. And, a new family might start off with 680 square feet, but then they have 2 kids and realize the house isn't big enough. So this model allows them to add a second or third story to the unit as their family grows, which is the key to having communities with vitality.
Okay, thank you. Anything further on that one? No? Okay, thanks. I think we've kind of hit our time limit here. Council, do you want to entertain a resolution at this point, or refer this to staff to bring us a resolution next time? Okay, so why don't we do that? We'll ask staff to bring us a resolution appropriate to the circumstances for this matter to proceed. Do you want that as a resolution? Sure. The clerk is saying yeah. Okay, so we're directing staff to bring forward a resolution for our consideration at the next meeting that is appropriate to this delegation's request. That's that. Moved by Councillor Duncan, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Blazic. Any discussion or debate on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, was there? Sorry.
That's fine. I'm just I'm a little concerned on the price, considering how low the square footage is. So I'll be honest, I don't think this is kind of a project for us. So I won't be against.
Oh, fair enough. All right, let's try that
Sorry,
again.
the audio quality is very choppy. I didn't catch any of that. I'm sorry. Is it possible to put it in a chat or?
I think staff can follow up with you, Mr. Siegel, and at that point in time can relay Councillor Newton's concern and his rationale for voting against the resolution. But what we'll do first is we'll have the vote, make sure that we have numbers identified. That's all right. So let's have the vote. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Right, thank you. There will be follow-up at our next council meeting, or at a newer council meeting. There will be follow-up from staff with regards to how we will proceed. But thank you for bringing to our attention this opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
And I assume he's on to delegation number 5. All right. Let's turn to item 9 on our agenda. Thank you, colleagues. We have one item from the Development and Protective Services Department. It's item 9.1.1. Council is invited to forward recommendation to approve with a collection of conditions to the County of Perth Land Division Committee or its designate related to an application requesting consent to cede the lands in the longest ward of the municipality of North Perth owned by parties Etterlin. County of Perth Planner Nathan Garland, who works on North Perth files, is with us to provide an overview and recommendation. Welcome, Mr. Garland. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Kaisenberg, members of North Perth Council. I do have a short presentation set up for this application. So this is for surplus fund severance application. The application number is B3424. Owners are Thomas, Martha, and Patrick, I believe. And the application same as the owner. The location is Concession 3, Lot 49, Wallace Ward, Municipality of North Perth, and municipal address is 8430 Road 175. Just a bit of a summary sketch. So here's a summary sketch submitted with the application. It does show a summary area of approximately 1 acre. So it includes the house, the septic system, well, and then the very small, just kind of one of those prefab sheds at the very back of the property, so nothing major. And then the retained lands are approximately 99 acres in size. There's a photo of the subject land. So it does front on line 87 and also on line 175. So the severance is off 175. There is a natural environment area at the very back that is not being cropped, so there's kind of trees and some swampland at the back. No comments or concerns from any of the neighbors or agencies provided. Staff would note there is a portion of the property that is designated aggregate potential. So as part of the official plan, we do show areas within the county that do have aggregate potential. So this is one of those subject lands. So staff did ask for them to include an aggregate impact study. They did do that work and came back with their findings. The report found that the area was quite small in size, about less than 5 hectares in size. Much of the impacts was actually a historic use, so a portion of that land was probably used for a wayside pit or a side pit just to access the gravel for some road construction. So you kind of see that the land does depress down there a little bit. So some of that market gravel has been removed previously. Also, the limiting factor, even on the size, currently there's only about 1 meter of viable aggregate before you get below the water table. So below water is you have to keep above 1.5 meters above the water table. So if you go below 1.5, you're below water extraction. So there's only really about 1 meter of above the water aggregate of 5 hectares, which is fairly limited in size. I'll say it that way from the aggregate population side. There's just that aggregate area that's shown on the property. I will note it does bisect a bit of the proposed severed lands. The land or the mapping was done at a fairly large scale, so it was done at a fairly high level scale. So sometimes these lines are fairly broad, so that's why it's shown on that area. But that is mostly towards the south of that. You can see that topography dip right off there at the south there where that wayside extraction would have taken place historically. Oh, sorry, wrong slide. Just a couple pictures of the property. So there's the house that's located there. As I said, it's really small. The suburbs are requesting approximately 1 acre in size, really limited just the area for the septic well, and then they small over at the back. And then that's an area looking south, just towards line 87. You see the plane does drop off there substantially. There's a bit of a hill there. They are asking to retain that bit of a farm access also on the south side there, just for some equipment or machinery access. They park the combine there, or some storage from other machinery equipment. So they do have a nice access set up ready for that to take farm parcel. Policy summary does meet the provincial policy requirements. Are actually now it's the provincial planning statement. So just as of yesterday, the province did change the 2024 provincial policy statement to the provincial planning statement now. So I will apologize if these sections are not correct as referenced, but they do line up with the provincial planning statement, which is now in effect. It does meet the surplus farm policy requirements. There is still that in there. It doesn't meet the protection of farmland. It also includes the mineral aggregate section in the provincial planning statement. The county official plan has not yet changed, so it's still in form and effect. So that does meet the policy section in the surplus farming requirements. And then subject to council consideration, there would be rezoning coming back for council's consideration on a future date. So staff are supportive of the application, and we are recommending to North Perth Council consider it and adding their support to this application also. I'm happy to address or answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. Questions or first comments from council on this matter? I'm not seeing any, so let's turn to the resolution as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth recommends that the Perth County Land Division Committee or its designated approved consent application B34-24, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth forwards the conditions listed in the staff report dated October 21st, 2024, affecting the property legally described as Lot 49, Concession 3, Wallace Ward, in the municipality of North Perth, 8430 Road 175, to the Perth County Land Division Committee or its designate. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Nordham. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried, and the clerks are starting to look like they're getting closer to you scribe looking. No, not tonight. They showed me scribe logo on the screen, and I was getting optimistic. I was. All right, thank you, Mr. Garland, as always, for your work. Let's turn to item 9.2. These are reports from the programs department. Item 9.2.1 brings forward a recommendation to adjust fees associated with child care services provided in North Perth Child Care Centres. I'm going to invite Amy Gangle, our manager of programs, to address the item and take note that Councillor Anstead has left the chamber per his earlier declaration. Ms. Gangle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. As you will recall, in 2022, the municipality of North Perth enrolled in the Canada-wide early learning and child care system. And as a result, we've been
providing a reduction in our parent fees over the past few years. This is to let you know that starting January 1st, 2025, the parent fees will be capped at $22 a day for children under the age of 6 in centers enrolled in the CWELC program. So to reflect that, the guidelines, the new guidelines, and the update has been made to our program department fees, which you'll see in the attachment. And so we're seeking approval for those fees today. And if we do receive those approvals, we'll add that information to our parent handbook and notify our families. What you're going to see in the rates is the infant fees that have been reflected. So the infant fees are going from $24.10 for parent fees down to $22. And then the remaining funds are covered by our CWELC fundings.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gangle. Any questions or first comments? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you for your report. So we got capping at $22 a day per child. Obviously, you're aware of the news was the $10 daycare program. So clearly, we're not there, and presumably that's on the basis that we as the local municipality are not getting the funding to put us at $10 a day. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we are following government guidelines with regards to the funding that we will receive to offset the costs. Yes.
Good. Thanks very much. But again, based on your report, we're doing the best that we can to go towards that, and we have dropped those fees significantly from what we were seeing. Again, $22 a day is a relatively modest amount when you have taken care of a child that's 6 or under. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Further to Councillor Rothwell's question, is there a timeline or a trajectory that will actually bring childcare fees to this $10 a day magic number that the federal government has largely endorsed and announced?
Back when it was announced, it several years ago, it indicated an average $10 a day. So it's an average $10 a day by 2026, I believe. Now we are just working year by year. So all I can really speak to is what's happening effective January 1st, 2025.
Okay, so the answer is we don't know. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to know. Anyone else with questions or first comments on this one? Councillor Rothwell.
Just quickly, not necessarily to vent any upper level of government on this issue, but we do have that thing called inflation, which has done staggering things over the last number of years. And $10 back a number of years ago may very well equal $22 today. I haven't done the math, but.
And I don't want you to do the math. Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Yes, okay. It's an interesting problem. All right. I have a resolution then for our consideration. If everyone's okay with that. As follows, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the amendment to Bylaw 138-2023, Schedule F, Program Department Fees, effective January 1st, 2025. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Andreessen, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. Thank you, Ms. Gangle. Let's bring Councillor Anstead back in, I think. I think he can participate in the next one. I'm not sure. Let's let him decide. Okay. Ms. Gangle is going to speak to item 9.2.2, and this one, Council is invited to confirm positive intent for the municipality to serve as the operator of daycare facilities that are either expanding or being built. You're up.
Thank you. Yes, the municipality of Perth received a letter of intent from the city of Stratford requesting that we be the operator of these new licensed childcare spaces. There is one located at the Liston Eastdale Public School, and then there's an expansion expected at St. Mary's Catholic School. So we currently have licenses at these locations. He still has a school age program license, but we would be applying for a revision to have that as a childcare license. And St. Mary's, we are already the operator licensee for that, so we would be again asking for a revision with the extents. There's still the requirements to meet for licensing. So 6 to 8 months is our best guess from the point that we start the application process to end. We will be as ambitious, positive and persevere as best as we possibly can these childcare spaces for our families, but there are factors involved that we need to follow and make sure we're starting off with success. The Louisville Eastdale site is proposed for 49 childcare spaces and anticipated opening at the end of 2025. The St. Mary's Catholic Child Care Center expansion is a total of 98 child care spaces anticipated at the end of 2027. So I put a note in there that these anticipation dates, it is an estimate. And it is going to depend on many things. One of those is seeking sufficient qualified child care workers to meet our operational needs. So just making council aware of that. Financial implication is related to the staff time to be able to recruit for these staff. As the city indicates in their letter, that would follow the funding model. We would update that funding model based on our licensees and receive the operational funding through them as we are currently getting that.
Thank you, Ms. Dangle. That is kind of the bomb in the report, right? Is the recruiting of staff for these centers. I happen to know because of conversations I've had with you and with our HR lead that this is not an easy market to recruit in, and that it takes a significant amount of staff time. So I suppose my question first, if I might, is you kind of allude to a cost. Are we at the point where we're going to actually need to consider adding extra part-time or full-time equivalent to HR just for the purposes of recruiting for these places? And I see Ms. Fraser is here and CAO Snell is here, so maybe we'll turn to CAO Snell first and ask him that question. So in the 2025 budget, council will see us starting to at least consider adding to the Human Resources Department to help us with the recruitment of not just our childcare staff, but all staff, because we are asking a lot of basically one recruiter to maintain the HR needs of North Perth. So that's probably just really meeting our immediate needs. So we'll even have to look at as we ramp up for 2027, especially with the significant increase of the center at the St. Mary's location. Okay. Are we able to reclaim any of the costs associated with the recruiting from essentially the daycare envelope that's provided to us through the consolidated services manager, or is that an expense that this corporation is absorbing as its sort of contribution to being able to run childcare centers?
So per the funding guidelines, there's a percentage of administrative funds per center that could be that helps cover some areas for example, my position, accounts receivables for childcare as well as human resources. It's a small percentage, 10% I think it is right now of the operation of each of the centers. That's where it's at right now. That cover that. We could have discussions with the city of Stratford with regards to this, with the recruitment piece, and see if we can get some support for that.
I'm sure we're not alone in terms of the scope of this challenge of finding these workers. And so, it's a fairly lean budget from what you're telling me there. Does concern me a little bit because essentially it means that we are potentially subsidizing the operation, and it was a council decision not to subsidize childcare. So, yes, go ahead. And the correct matter is that this is not just a North Perth problem. We do have an ECE shortage across the region and across the province. So
the number being provided by the city through the government program may in some areas be adequate, but when there's not enough ECs or we're having to spend significant resources to find the ECs, especially for the part-time roles, it probably isn't enough that we can certainly lobby to have that issue like that. But for example, we know the city of Stratford's experiencing the same problem we are.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions or comments about this matter? Councillor Mazik.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Amy, I believe you said that the childcare center at St. Mary's will be an additional 98 spaces. Can you remind us how many spaces are there right now? It's not for sure.
I do not have that number memorized. I can email council with numbers, or I can, if you give me a minute, I can take a look at my license.
Just send it in an email, maybe. That might be fine.
Yeah, 49 plus 49 plus 50. So that's 65. Plus, yeah.
Cross discussion going on.
We're going to go spend about between 95 and 100. That's including the school age. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have those memorized. I can give the name all of their license capacities.
And if I might, I'm going to bounce off that question. With this increased capacity and against modeling, how much of a gap that we have now between the number of parents trying to place their children and the actual capacity of our system will remain once we've done this work?
There will still be a wait list.
There will still be a wait list. Is it substantial?
Yes.
I see all staff in the room and some not even directly accountable for the program and nodding their
And
heads.
it's not just us. It's
Sure.
global.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Thanks for your time. Through you, Amy. We've talked before about the time frame or the if we do, if council agrees and we do submit the interest to continue to operate and operate the new area, what is the time frame for the agreement? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 for the operations under the agreement?
Right now, we do 5-year agreements with the city of Stratford for all the childcare centers.
Good. Well, frankly, I'm happy to hear it's 5 because I think it was less than that previously. I expressed a concern for us as operating that. It's for us to undertake the staffing and resources and so on, and obviously for our staff itself, for themselves. They need to be assured that if they are coming here, for example, from the fire, that there is a job for that extent of time. So 5 years is still not out of line, but it's not as permanent as we know it needs to be. Given the mayor's comments, we have a wait list, which is significant now, and it will be slightly less, but it will still be significant, I presume. So.
I will say that there will be revisions of agreements, all of them stemming around the CBELC, so that component as we see them. Yeah.
Anyone else with questions or comments at this point before we consider the resolution? Okay, I'm not seeing any. As follows: that the Council of Municipality of North Perth approves the request from the City of Stratford for the Municipality of North Perth to be a licensed operator for the Westdale Childcare Centre site and expanded childcare spaces for St. Mary's Childcare Centre Westdale site. Moved by Councillor Bozic, seconded by Councillor Andreessen. Any discussion or debate? I continue not to like the risk that the corporation is going to be absorbing additional HR costs on top of this that are not coming out of the child care envelope. I think that perhaps at some point soon, this council might need to express its opinion about this subject to Ontario and to the Consolidated Services Manager for that purpose. But I know that at this point we're not particularly in the know as to what the precise impacts are, and it would be nice to know that. So I'll leave it at that. Anyone else with questions, debate, discussion points at this point?
If I could just add one, if you permit me,
say from the announcements is October 20, this Thursday, October 24th, is the annual Child Care Worker and Early Childhood Appreciation Day. So please appreciate all of our child care workers, all of those who are caring for any children in our community. Please thank them. Take that moment.
Thank you for that, Ms. Gangle. Good point. All right. We have this duly moved and seconded. I don't see any expression of interest in further discussion. So let's have the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. Thanks, Ms. Gangle, for your service. Let's turn to item 10 on our agenda then. Do any members of council wish to request reports of staff of our committees? I'm not seeing any expression of interest there. For item 11.1, we have received a request related to planned Remembrance Day service at the Elma Cenotaph in Atwood. The request seeks consent for placement of barricades along the entrances to Monument Road for the safety of the procession to the cenotaph. And I think I have a resolution here that specifies the details as follows: that the Council of Municipality of North Perth directs staff to provide barricades for the Remembrance Day service at the Elma Cenotaph on November 10th, 2024 from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. to be placed at the following locations: Monument Road at King Street, Monument Road at Queen Street, and Monument Road at Road 164 or Highway 23. And further, that North Public Works, Fire, OPP, and Perth County EMS be advised of the event. Moved by Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any discussion or debate on this one? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Let's move to item 11.2. The Listle Farm and Maker Market seeks to borrow 3 picnic tables with a waiver of the fees for the same for its Christmas market, which is scheduled to take place at Between the Lines on November 10th. Here's the resolution for that. That the Council of Municipality of North Perth approves a request from Listle Farm and Maker Market to waive the fees for the use of 3 picnic tables, including delivery and pickup at the Christmas market on November 10th. We should probably specify that Between the Lines in the resolution. Moved by Councillor Blazek. No question by Councillor Blazek.
Sorry, through you, Mayor. I heard that your resolution said 3 tables, but I think that their letter requests 4 tables.
Okay, correct table. Am I adjusted to 4? All right, adjusted to 4. Thanks for catching that, Councillor Blazek. Okay, we did move for this, I think, right? Moved by Councillor Blazek, seconded by Councillor Hanstead. Just walk my way down the table. That's the way to do it. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. At this point, we turn to consideration of bylaws that have been recommended to us for action. We just have the one tonight. This is the one that has already been raised in an earlier resolution that was supported by council. And the resolution for enabling that bylaw is as follows: that the following bylaw is hereby passed, 96-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 138-2023, and this relates to the programs department's fee schedule appendix, Schedule F, Schedule F. Can I call for Councillor Rothman? Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any discussion or debate on that one? Seeing none, those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. We can bring Councillor Anstey back in. Thank you. I was moving a bit fast for you there, Councillor Anstey. Sorry about that. All right. As item 13.1, do any councillors wish to leave to give notice of motion tonight? I'm not seeing any expression of interest there. That brings us to item 14 on our agenda. For item 13, are there any announcements that would be of benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? And those in the chambers, we may raise their hands to be placed on the speaker's list. Anyone wishing to make announcements? I will make a few, if that's all right. First, a few of us, Councillor Blazek and Pierre Kellum and I, were in attendance at the Battle of the Badges hockey game on the weekend. Chief Pate, we're sorry it went so badly for your side in this event, and we encourage training and so forth. And it was remarkable. Deputy Mayor Callan and I were comparing notes. He and I both managed to sit very darn close to the center line in the arena for the sake of trying to preserve our balanced and transparent approach to our support of the various teams that were playing that day. The score was 6-2, just in case anyone wanted to know, in favor of the OPP. And I was even inspecting Rose and looking at she was quite pleased with the results. So anyway, all right, that's the first announcement. Second announcement, sorry I didn't attend to this earlier, but colleagues, you've all noticed that Clerk Klein has returned to our presence, and we are grateful to have her back after her maternity leave. Welcome back. It would be remiss for me not to recognize the incredible service that Sarah Carter has given to us over the last year and a bit, I think, as acting clerk, and she's still with us, and we're grateful that she's still with us. And we were so honored by your service, Sarah. So thank you so much on behalf of council. And I think we should perhaps give her a brief round of applause. All right. I'd like to advise council the appointment of Mr. Matthew Robb as our new manager of operations. He is replacing the retiring Mr. William Couch. Mr. Couch retired on Friday. It was his retirement day, so I saw Matthew today in the office, and we're delighted to have Mr. Rock join our team as the new manager of operations. When I left at midday today, he was in meetings with Mr. Couch and CEO Snell, and I hope he hasn't bailed yet or run for the fences. So anyway, welcome to Mr. Rock, to our senior leadership team. And it's also, I suppose, a weird pleasure to announce that the county official plan was adopted by County Council at its meeting last Thursday. And while this doesn't mean that its provisions are fully in place because the province must approve the official plan or weigh in with amendments and changes, it does represent the end of 7 years of work and a whole bunch of gray hair on the top of this head. Or no hair. Thanks, you were counting exactly right. So, Duncan, you seem to be doing all right, actually. So anyway, I think it was an important step forward. It is an evolving document, and I think we have to remember that. It'll be interesting to see with what rapidity the province weighs in on this item. But we are hopeful that the province will weigh in soon and allow us to move forward with a whole bunch of changes which are to the benefit of North Perth, in my personal opinion. Anyone else with announcements? Now that I've stolen a whole bunch of thunder. All right, let's turn to item 15 on our agenda. We have 3 items to be considered in a closed session meeting of council. I will now read the resolution that will enable such, and it is as follows: that council proceeds in camera at 8:11 p.m. to address matters pertaining to the following: labor relations or employee negotiations regarding North Perth volunteer firefighter compensation review, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board regarding policy session 1, block 30, RP 44R 4735 parts 1 and 3, PT Part 2, and proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board regarding Plan 194 Part Block J, RP 44R 4545 Part 1. Can I call for a motion? Councillor Norman, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Duncan, thank you. Any discussion or debate or concern before we do this? All right, all those in favor, any opposed? That's carried. And that means we will make some adjustments and move into our closed session. Those who have not been invited to remain for the closed session should exit the council chamber at this point, and we will close the doors. And we're waiting on our IT All right, we are resuming our council session, just testing the audio to make sure that we are broadcasting. All right, thank you. So we are back on. Regarding, in fact, I'm hearing my voice from an echo. It's not great. Regarding item 16 on our agenda, council did discuss the matters that were identified in our resolution for a closed session meeting of council. We did give staff direction pertaining to each of the matters that were considered, and the essence of that direction will remain confidential at this time for the reasons that were stipulated in the enablement of our closed session meeting. Council has mandated good practice acts to the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what is called the confirmatory bylaw. I have an enabling resolution to that end as follows. The bylaw number 90, as 2024, being bylaw to confirm general and previous actions of the council of the municipality of North Perth is hereby passed. Can I call for Mark? Thank you. Councillor Durham. And Councillor Richardson, thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Councillors, we have completed deliberation and taken action on the business that was put before us tonight. It is thus appropriate for us to consider adjournment. I have a resolution to that effect as follows. The council meeting adjourns at 9:30 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Moved by Councillor Rothman and seconded by Councillor Richardson. It's not debatable. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Council colleagues, our next regular council meeting is Monday, November 4th. Until that time, this council is adjourned.